And there it is. We're live.
There it is.
We'll try something new today. I'll introduce the show. So here we are. It's great to be back live. Of course, the last couple of weeks we had some pre-recorded shows, and we hope those were useful and helpful to you. And thank you to those who commented and said that they were. And big thank you to those who've said, "Here's what I'd like to have you talk about."
Mhm.
And in fact, that is how we came to today's topic, and it's a good one. As Andrea said before the broadcast to me, boy, 2020 could not have set the stage any better for this topic. Burnout, how to avoid getting burned out, and how to recover when you do. And I can't think of anybody better to talk about this than Andrea, who coaches worship teams across the country. So without any further ado, Andrea, it's your show.
Thanks, Ben. Well, man, yeah, burnout, it's a big one because I mean, even prior to 2020, right? Like, was always a conversation that I have with ministry leaders. And I'm sure that you have it often, Ben, too, with people that are on your team or your touring team and that kind of thing. So if you're not a pastor, don't tune this out because
No,
this is like
this is for
life.
you, whoever you are.
Yeah, it's like life skills, life.
Hey, anybody
um,
who's never been burned out or felt like you're getting burned out, I guess you could probably tune out, but you're probably not human anyway. So
yeah, exactly. I mean, maybe we should pass it over to that person so they could they could host the show. No, we're just kidding. So yeah, I think where I'd love to start is for those of you who are already there. Because, like Ben and I were talking before we started, it's like there's kind of two phases to it. It's Ben said it's you're either in it or how do you avoid it, right? And so I want to start with those who are in it because I think a lot of people are. And I just have found with countless pastors or worship leaders or just friends that I've talked with, they're just like, I'm tired. And it's not this physical, I want to go to bed and take a nap. It's just like, I wake up in the morning and I'm like, here we go again. And if that's where you find yourself, you're either in burnout or you're on the train. You're on the train headed there. And so for you who are in it, first of all, I just want to encourage you that you're not alone. I think sometimes in the in the spiritual world, like the enemy would want us to think like there's something wrong with me, like nobody else is here. I'm all alone in this, and it's just not true. And so if you're in it, the best thing that you can do is to talk about it. And I know that that might feel weak. It might feel awkward, but just start with your spouse or start with somebody who is a safe space for you and begin to have the conversation and if you can pinpoint and kind of name it and then you know where to go, right? We have to be able to actually give it a name and identify like this is what this is, because if we don't have a roadmap, it's just like with anything else. I feel like we were talking about roadmaps even in sound stuff and all of that. It's like we don't know where we're going, we can't get there, we're just gonna get lost. So that's my first tip is to identify it and to talk about it.
I think that's so good. I think that, and you're right. And it's funny. I'm wearing a touring shirt today because it just seemed like the. Well, I've got to go set up some gear later, and it seemed like the thing to do. And
Yeah.
and thinking back to some of those experiences as you were talking, it just resonated with me. Where I thought, yeah, we don't want to be weak. We don't want people to feel like, oh, they can't do their job.
Mm-hmm.
But it's a real thing. And of course, that can come from just the long days, one after the other. But what we've had with 2020 and with COVID is entirely different
Mm-hmm.
because it's different and it's stressing you out. It's stressful to, read the news, and it's stressful to see, all the, I mean, I don't need to explain it to anybody, right? Unless you've
Mm-hmm.
been living under a rock for a year. P.S. There's a pandemic. I don't know if you noticed,
Yeah.
but you know,
Wouldn't that be nice? I almost would envy that person. Like, you didn't know? Oh man, where
right.
were
Wow.
you?
Yeah, exactly.
I
How
want
you
to be there.
all right. Rip Van Winkle or whatever, so but yeah, I think just being able to talk about it, and
Mhm.
if the old saying is true, misery loves company. I think there are probably more people who are feeling some level of this than are not.
Yeah.
So yeah, I think you're right on the money, and it struck me that actually, and I don't. Hopefully, I'm not getting ahead of you here, but one of the things that I thought of was I was on a tour, and it was a Christian tour, and one of the lead singers is also a pastor, and that can be really helpful sometimes, but also they're not there in the capacity of a pastor. They're there as the talent, and you try to respect their time and the demands on them, and not make them pastor while they're there, right?
Yeah.
The designated ringer, hey, we got a pastor in the house,
Yes.
but to this person's credit, they pastored me. They came on the bus, and I think they noticed that I was maybe approaching burnout,
Mm.
approaching just physical and mental exhaustion. And they said, "Are you all right?" I said,
Hmm.
I'm fine." And they said, "No, really, are you
Yeah.
okay?" Like they weren't going to accept my bravado. I'm like, "No, no, I'm
Hmm.
fine. I'm just
I'm
rub the
good.
brick on it, get back in the game." They were like, "No, let's talk a minute. You okay?"
Yeah.
So
Hmm.
anyway, I don't want to get
Yeah.
ahead of you, but
No, I mean, it's so good. You're exactly right. It's segues into just exactly what we all need is community, right? And we need those people in our lives who can notice those things. And
mhm.
maybe for you guys listening, maybe it's a spouse, or maybe, it's a close friend or whatever, but we need that community. I was just having a conversation yesterday with some people in this worship leaders community that I'm a part of. And it's a very small, uh, tight knit small group, and it's really cool. There's worship leaders that are one's in India, they're kind of all over, but we get to connect online. And one of them was just talking about this very thing about burnout. And I think she was shocked, I think, to hear our responses of like, it's, like, how can we pray for you? How can we help? Or, just like, and being in that community and her feeling like it was a safe place to say it.
Yeah,
And, then feeling like, oh, am I weak? Am I going to lose my job? Am I going to, like, am I going to get fired because I look weak? No, I don't think that's the case, because we're all human beings. We
absolutely.
have a certain capacity. And it reminds me of this author, John Eldridge, who he's written a lot of really great books. But one of the recent talks I heard from him, he was talking about like human capacity. And if you think back to Bible times and how their world was probably the span of about 30 miles because
Mm.
they had to walk, right?
Right.
And so there's, oh, hi,
So it's
Eugene.
kind of like
Yeah.
now.
Yeah, exactly. Right.
Our
Yeah,
world got shrunk to a small. Yeah, I'm sorry.
exactly. Yeah, exactly. Hey, Eugene, we see you. Thanks for being here. But their world was about 30 miles. And so if you think about that from like the weight of the world, what they could process and what they dealt with was the span of 30 miles. And he said, think about that. What if that's how, he's like, I don't know, but what if that's how God wired us? Like, we weren't meant to bear the weight of the literal world. Like,
Mm.
our bodies and our lives and our hearts and our minds were meant to bear much less than that. But now with technology and news and internet, all of a sudden, like, we know everything. The
Mhm.
information, I can have it in a second. If my daughter wants to know what this is as a fraction and I don't know, I can, like, you just, anything, any
And it's
news, any.
24/7, like the news, the
Mhm.
updates. I mean, as we've been talking, literally, we've got notifications on this side of my screen. My phone's blowing up. I'm like, it's just nonstop.
Yep, it's nonstop. And so it's just an interesting perspective. And that doesn't mean that we live in naivety, right? It doesn't mean like, oh, well, there's starvation happening over, in India, but I'm not going to care about that because it's not in my 30 miles. And that's not what I mean. I just mean, just give yourself a break, because we
Yeah.
have a lot getting thrown at us all the time. And so if you can think of it in that terms, it's a little bit of a breath of fresh air. Like, okay, it's okay. I'm human. Maybe I wasn't meant to bear the weight of the world on my shoulders. So what am I going to do with it? Well, number one, I'm going to name it, admit like where I'm at. Am I burned out? Am I on the way there? Am I coming out of it? Am I healthy? Where am I at? And then find a community. And then the next thing is, what's great segue from all of your notifications coming in, is to turn off the noise. Turn
Wait, say
off.
that again. I didn't hear you.
Yeah, turn off the noise. Did you mute me?
One more time. What was that?
Turn off the noise, right? So Ben just turned me off now. He's not listening
No,
anymore.
no. I
He's
just needed to
gonna.
hear it 3 times.
Yeah,
I heard you. I just needed to.
I know.
I just needed to hear you.
Yes.
Like
Yep.
listening,
Totally.
and I'm like, listen. This is great advice. I
And it's hard.
actually, it reminds me of something that I was able to do, and I'm cautioning myself already as the world is starting to wake up again post COVID. The entertainment world, the show world. Um, I'm getting very busy all of a sudden,
Mm-hmm.
or at least there's a lot of chatter about things that could happen throughout the year. And I was just, as you were talking, I was just, you made me think, which is great, about something I was able to do last summer where I went camping with my kids to a very desolate, remote
Mm-hmm.
place where cell phones didn't work. And it was fantastic. It was so healthy and I need to remind myself not to fall back into the trap,
Mm-hmm.
of saying yes to everything and to say, yeah, I'm going to go turn off the noise, whether that
Mm-hmm.
means literally going to a place where cell phones don't work or just ignoring it for a day.
Mm-hmm.
You know?
Yeah. It's so good to do. And whenever we're on vacation, because both my husband and I are self-employed. And so it's like, I mean, you get it. If we're not paying attention to it, it does. If something falls apart and we're not paying attention, we're kind of the ones who have to come in and help move it along. So we use that as an excuse, right?
Mm-hmm.
But when we're on vacation, we have to purpose. It's not just like, oh, yeah, vacation's going to be so wonderful. Actually, vacation is the opposite. I feel like
It's
things
very
go
stressful.
wrong
Yeah.
when we're gone. We're like, wait, what is on fire? Like, actually on fire?
Yeah.
And
Vacation is very stressful for self-employed people. I
yeah,
mean, to me anyway, I can
yeah,
relate. Yeah.
totally. And so we actually have to purpose and say, okay, these days, phone is off. Or, these hours, phone is off. And we just literally power it down. And that's such a practical thing that we can all do. We just don't want to because it's
Right.
like, well, what if I miss something? It's like, well, but you know what? What if you miss out on a moment with your family? Or what if you miss out on a moment to just sit and like listen to music or read the Bible or just goodness sakes, heaven forbid, take a nap without your phone, buzzing to wake you up or whatever. So I just encourage you, if you're in burnout, to find time to turn off the noise, and you're going to have to make it happen. It's not just going to happen for you. You have to actually purpose to do it. So whether that's your phone or it's your, disciplining yourself not to pull up the news the first thing in the morning, you have to pinpoint, for those who are listening, you have to pinpoint exactly what that thing is for you that is causing maybe extra stress on top of your burnout. But those are some of the tips that have been really helpful for me when I'm in that place. And I've definitely been there, spent 6 years leading every single Sunday without any Sundays off because it was a
Wow.
small church and there was
Yeah.
no other options. And I just reached the point where I was like, I'm tapping out, guys. I can't. I just don't even. If I have to get up here again, I think I'm gonna lose it. I can't do it. I don't feel like I have anything left to give. And it was my own fault for not seeking out, these things that I learned the hard way, and seeking out community and being honest with myself about what was happening, because I was just like, no, I'm fine. I can do this. Like it was in my early 20s. So I was like, I'm 22. Like, I'm fine. I can't, I'm
We're
strong enough.
indestructible. Yeah.
Yeah. And so I had to learn the hard way. And now that I have some of these things in place, it's made a huge impact on my life to just help me stay in a place where hopefully I don't get to the point of full on burnout. So here's a great question from Eugene. What can I do to encourage my congregation to be willing to help out when I'm planning on being gone? Yes.
Yeah.
Yes. This is so good, Eugene, because it is so hard. And what it is it is a culture shift. And so, unfortunately, I wish there was like one thing you could do that just says, okay, now everybody's gonna help. But it's really a culture shift. And so, beginning the conversation with people and saying, you know, it's really building that team culture of, we are in this together, and these are the core values of our organization, and one of them is that we help hold each other up, right? And so, things to invest in the relationship of your congregation or your team, with your worship team. Maybe it's like getting dinner once in a while, and I don't mean like every month or week, just like, team investments once a quarter or something like that, where you're developing relationship with people. And so I think once you have that relationship established, it's much easier to say, like, I need somebody to step in, and people are more willing to be like, yeah, I would love to help you out, because it's based off of relationship. So that's part one. And part two, it could be, you know, a logistical policy type of thing, Eugene, where maybe there's some standard or something that you guys could begin to implement within your organization where, you know, I mean, way back in the day, we used to do like a trading system where if we had a sound engineer that like couldn't be there, like put it on that person to call the other sound engineers and, you know, see if they could step in. Um, and so for you, your context, you'd have to kind of tweak it to apply. But maybe there's some sort of system that you could implement where it's not so stressful for you to step away. Cause I'm with you, Eugene. You're just like, it's just easier to be here. Like it's so hard to leave. So
It
I'm
is,
just
but
not going
I
to.
think you're to your point, which is right on the money. Sometimes we can't choose when we can't be there. I mean,
Right.
sometimes, like we talked a couple weeks ago about equipment, and if you don't schedule maintenance, your equipment will schedule it for you. Well, the same
Yep.
thing can happen to you. It could be
Yep.
illness, could be an accident, or all kinds of reasons. So you have to develop that redundancy. It's kind of like having
Mm,
a backup quarterback. It's almost irresponsible not to have one. And
yeah.
so I think what you said, fostering that and giving them a chance to get some comfort, so that they're not stepping into a role that's completely unfamiliar.
Mm,
And that can be hard when, for particularly like people like you and me, Andrea, where we're sort of, I'll just do it myself, I just get it done. Well, but if we do that all the time, we never give other people a chance to be prepared to take over for us.
mm-hmm. Yeah, absolutely. It's so true. And I love that. And I think it's such a practical application too of, you know, maybe for someone like Eugene, maybe there are some people in your congregation who could help, but they don't know how. And so maybe you could let them shadow you. Like, hey, can you just come and sit in the booth with me or whatever your role is that Sunday and let them shadow you because it would feel less scary, less intimidating for them to then step in when you're like, all right, I'm out. I gotta go. And so that's a couple tips for you. And then Stevie says it's the bottle analogy. I love that. If we're
Right
constantly
on.
pouring out, eventually the water's gonna run out. It's just like what Ben's saying. If you don't schedule the maintenance, your body's gonna say, guess what? Too bad. I'm doing it for you. So yeah,
Well, and we've
that's
seen that particularly now with COVID,
mm-hmm.
where and this has been actively talked about within our organization and with some of our clients, that if we have one person who can do a job, and they get COVID, and even if they have
Yeah,
a very mild case and they're not, it's not a matter of them not being able to function, but they can't be in a place with other people.
yeah,
I mean, that would be irresponsible and dangerous to do that, right? So,
right.
well, what do you do if you have one person who can do sound for this event and suddenly they get COVID and now they can't go? uh, you better have a backup plan. And
Yeah,
the time to make that backup plan is before.
yeah,
Yeah.
yes,
Hope
absolutely.
is not a plan.
I know, right? Yeah. And you know, it makes me think back to when I was in that stage of leading every single Sunday and not having anybody else. And then I once I realized what was happening, I I began to really pray and like, okay, Lord, I need some people to help. And in my mind, I thought like people who can just step in and do it. And none of them were. They were all like students or people who needed to be mentored, which turns out I love to do. And so it was of course God's perfect plan, but it was work for me on the front end to bring these people in and to train them and to kind of mentor them in. But then it was like now all of a sudden I had people where I could just be like, we're gonna be gone for 2 weeks, and they're like, okay, you know, and it's fine. And so that's the really beautiful thing about relationship and community, and then doing the work of investing in people, so that they can step up when we need them to. So
Well, and I'll use my I'll, excuse me, I'll use my backup quarterback analogy again. I didn't pay as much attention to football this year as maybe I could ever should have, but I believe that Patrick Mahomes was hurt and that a backup quarterback played in at least one, if not two, of the games, which got them into the Super Bowl.
hmm,
If you have no quarterback, obviously they're not getting into the Super Bowl.
right.
But the other side of that coin is, do you think the backup quarterback dreads the starting quarterback going down? Uh, Maybe in a playoff game like that, there's some nerves, but I think they relish the opportunity to get on the
Hmm.
field. I think they want to play the game. I mean, nobody wants to sit on the bench. So I think that this can be an opportunity for the people you've been mentored. They're like,
Yeah.
all right, you know, I know that Andrea is still a starting quarterback, but hey, I'm excited to get on the field and do my thing because someday I want to be a starting quarterback. You know,
Hmm.
you got to work your way up, get those reps, you know, and yeah, I mean, I don't know why that just resonated with me, but
Yeah.
like
Totally.
I wouldn't want to be the guy on the bench. So, you know, but you gotta earn your spot. And that's a great way for them to be mentored into that role. And then they can go on and serve another congregation someday, hopefully many years down the road, and you can mentor another person. And so the cycle goes, you know?
Yeah. Yeah, I love that. And it's like this perspective of, we have no idea what our investment in that person is going to do to impact their life.
Right.
And so it's like, well, that's a small thing that I'm doing because I think it's going to help me, but we have no idea the impact that it will have on their lives, which is, amazing and so humbling. And so I think that's the really beautiful kind of domino effect of this type of thing too, because you're also investing in a potential future leader. You know, the person that I trained up the most at that church job, I handed the job off to her 2 years ago
Well,
and
there you
was
go.
like, "You're ready, go fly." and she's amazing. She's doing an amazing job, and it's a really beautiful thing.
And
So
because of your leadership, she's undoubtedly mentoring people to follow in her footsteps.
yeah, yeah, she is doing a great job.
You've set the example. You've set the tone. You know that
Hmm.
this is how we are a starting quarterback, so to speak.
Hmm.
I'll just keep riding that analogy into the
Yeah, I
sunset.
know. I did watch the Super Bowl, but otherwise, I didn't watch any football. I'm just,
I did because for me it was well, this is the first year in probably 20 years that we have watched the Super Bowl at home because we have
that's
friends
cool.
that throw a great Super Bowl party, and it's a family event, and we all go over there, and it just but this year, of course, that wasn't possible to do, and so but
Hmm.
well, for us it was just an excuse to eat, and
Right.
oh my gosh, the food we knocked it out of the park. In fact, I was just talking to one of my friends, the Super Bowl party friends, the other day, and I said, I think we need to help you guys. I mean, you guys cook great, but I think we've been sandbagging you because turns out we make pretty awesome nachos and wings. So to
That's
contribute
awesome.
something next year instead of just mooching off your food.
Yeah, there you go. That's awesome. Yeah, it sounds like a fun party.
We ate until we were comatose, and it was, I mean, my daughter said, I don't even like football. And I said, who said anything about football?
It's the
It's just,
food.
who
Yeah.
cares about the game?
I mean, my 3-year-old was all about it. She didn't care about football, but she was like, snacks. We are eating a lot of snacks, and I'm here for it.
We ate
Yeah.
so much. It was,
Yes. Amazing.
I was,
Amazing.
I was reminded of my age the next morning. Like my,
Uh-huh.
my intestines were like, what have you done?
What'd you do to me?
All these, spicy, snacky,
Sure.
hot wings and macho nachos. And
Oh, man.
yeah, my guts were like, what is wrong with you?
What is the matter with
It's a
you?
whole different kind of burnout where my intestines are like, you will do nothing but drink clear
Yes.
liquids for the next three
Yes.
days.
That is heartburn. Yeah.
Yes, oh yeah, it was great.
Yeah.
I'd do it all over again tomorrow.
Right. Yeah. That's
Any
funny.
excuse,
Yes.
NASCAR, whatever. Give me a reason, I'll do it.
I'll do it. Yeah. That's amazing. So yes, we have a football fan here.
Yep,
Gerald.
Gerald, my
That's
friend Gerald.
amazing.
He's by the way, so glad you're thawed out. He was right down in the thick of that
Yeah.
in the Dallas area and Texahoma or whatever, kind of in that middle of Texas,
Yeah.
Oklahoma. I think Gerald, you guys hit like -6, which for us in Minnesota is,
Wow. Well, yeah, but for Texas, that's like
it was
unheard of.
bad. I know they had a lot of frozen pipes,
Yeah.
and Gerald's a good friend. I know he's a firefighter, and I know they were dealing
Hmm.
with a lot of stuff down there. So thanks for powering
Yeah.
through that, and glad you guys are doing all right.
Yeah. Yeah, for sure. So before we wrap up, I just want to talk a little bit about how to prevent burnout, because we talked about how to navigate through it, but how to prevent it. And they are a bit the same, right? You can prevent it by having community and doing kind of all of those things that we talked about when you're in burnout and turning off the noise, all of those things. Oh, good. You're thawing out. You're getting rain. Oh, no. Well, it's better than snow.
Yeah, way better than snow.
Yeah. So,
Unless
it's
you eat too much of it, you're not out looking for gopher wood, right? So
yeah. Exactly. But it's important for us to make sure that we're paying attention to cues, like listening to ourselves and being honest with ourselves. Where I'm at. Am I in a healthy place? Okay, good. How do I stay there? Well, stay in your community. Make sure you're not isolating yourself and surround yourself with people who are like minded and can lift you up and encourage you, and find times to turn off the noise. And, I talk a lot about rest with the people that I work with. And it's different. This is not a sleepy rest. This is not like a binge watch Netflix rest. This is an active rest. And so this type of active rest is where we are purposefully investing in our own selves for the purpose of staying healthy. So we're turning off the noise, or like for me, I have a practice of every night before I go to bed, I just sit in the quiet and just listen for like anywhere from 1 to 10 minutes, just kind of however long I'm there. But it's this practice that I've put in place after a book that I read called Whisper by Mark Batterson. But it was so profound to me as he talked through the book about this importance of, he calls it a whisper spot. But basically it's like, I'm just coming. I'm not asking God for anything. I'm not doing anything, but just sitting here like, I'm here. I'm here, God. And maybe I hear him speak. Maybe I don't, but I'm trying to like shut off my mind, quiet my heart, and just like, I'm here. And that practice has been really helpful for me just to quiet my mind, quiet my heart. And it's little things like that where it's like I'm reminded in those times. I kind of think back through the day and I'm like, okay, yeah, I maybe ran too hard through this, or I said yes to this and I really shouldn't have. It's just like an assessment tool too, as well. But this active listening and this active rest, it's about being proactive and trying to pursue those times to rest, pursue getting good sleep, right? Like take care of
Hmm.
your body, those kinds of things. But then also making sure that we're not saying yes to every single thing. Because when we say yes to everything, well, when the best thing comes along, we won't have time for it. And so
Right.
it's saying no to good things so that we can say yes to great things. And that's hard in ministry because everything's a good thing, right? It's like, well, but it's all kingdom focused. Well, yes, it's true. That is so true. But if we say yes to all the good things, then the great thing that God was like, no, this is what I, had for you to do. I wanted you to step into this. Then we're like, can only give half of ourselves to it because we're so strained and stretched. So those are kind of the things that I've learned to prevent burnout and navigating through it. So that's what I wanted to
Great
chat about.
stuff, Andrea. And I expected no less, but great stuff. Wonderful lessons, and I took a few notes myself. So,
Yeah.
because as we established, it is not a sign of weakness to admit that
Hmm.
you're burning out, and I'm going to do a better job. But you'd think after 30 years of my career, I'd be getting better at it. But these are things we all need to hear. So thank you for that.
Hmm.
Oh, Lou just joined us. Well, hey, Lou, welcome. There's another guy who knows nothing about burnout, I'm sure. So
Oh, welcome, Lou. Well, as we wrap it up, I just wanted to encourage all of you. If you're struggling with a place to start, I always encourage people to like go to the Psalms. If you're like, I don't really, maybe you don't pray a lot, or maybe you're not, this whole like sitting and listening thing is weird, and that's okay. You don't have to do that. It's just, yeah, burn what?
yeah, what?
Um, but just start with the Psalms. Pick one like Psalm 18 or Psalm 91 or some of these Psalms that are just really peaceful and really encouraging and life-giving, and just read it. And that alone can be like, a breath in your day, and just a reminder of who God is, and who He wants us to remember that He is, and just gives us a moment for pause. And because I love in Exodus when He talks about that His presence goes with us and He gives us rest. That's what He wants for us. He wants us to live in that place of, just being at peace in our hearts and our minds, and not a total state of chaos. And so I think getting back to the scriptures and being grounded, especially if you don't know what else to say or what to pray, just reading that is awesome, because the scripture is the inspired word of God. So yeah, that's what I got. I just want to encourage you all with that today. So
And we have each other, and we have this community, and we have this wonderful and growing community on Facebook. We had a few new members this week, which is exciting. I think it's great to see people coming together, and feel free to ask your questions there.
Yeah.
Feel free to answer questions there,
Hmm.
and feel free to invite some friends. I really feel good about the community that we're building.
Yeah, me too. I think it's amazing. It's really fun to see. And like Ben said, if you feel like, oh, is Ben supposed to answer this? Is Andrea supposed to answer this? No, just hop in there. If you got like a 2 cents or some experience you had, we want to hear it because we all learn from each other. So it's not like a
We're looking at you,
classroom.
Lou. we know you have a lot of answers.
Yeah. Come on, Lou. Help us out.
That's right.
So anyways, well, that's all I got for today. I'm excited for all that God is doing in and through this community and in and through the church worldwide. I know He's working. I know He's moving, and I hope that all of you were encouraged today. And we'll be back again soon. We've got some more pre-recorded stuff that you'll get to see in the coming weeks, and then we'll be back live. But if you have a topic idea, please let us know. Write a
Please,
post or
please, please,
comment
please.
because we
Yes.
want to be relevant, right, Ben?
I've been trying my whole life to be relevant.
I want it to be helpful for you guys.
Yeah.
So awesome. Cool. Well, thanks, everybody. Have an awesome rest of your day, great weekend, and we'll see you next time.
Bye bye, everybody.
Bye, guys.